Hello, Ethereal Beauties, and welcome back or welcome to the wonderful ethereal world. So in today's video, we're going to discuss how when you're a pretty girl, you just have more fun in life and you just become carefree and you just don't stress or worry about things. So back before I had my glow up, when I wasn't deemed attractive and was like heavier than I am now, I just kind of had this whatever-ish attitude about life. I felt like I was living in black and white, just doing the same things day in and day out, and not truly living, if that makes sense. And I'm referring to like the period during my first couple years of college, even though that got disrupted by, the big event that we all know happened. But during those days, I remember not having much fun because I didn't feel good about myself. I mean, looking back, I can see now that that's what it was, because I've reached a point now where I feel extremely good about myself almost every day. But back then, in the moment, I didn't feel like it. And to be fair, I was just 18, 19, 20 years old, which is very young, so I don't blame myself. I think it was necessary for me to go through a growth phase and come to certain realizations about the world, especially after coming from a pretty sheltered household, but that's a topic for another day. So before my glow up, I was never unconfident in myself. I never thought I was ugly, but I knew I wasn't one of those girls that people saw as pretty, like the pretty girl. Like, I had ways of validating myself, but when I went out into the world, that validation wasn't being mirrored back to me, which I think definitely lowered my self-esteem. Like, for example, let's say like you get all dressed up for a party and you feel like you look amazing, but then you show up and no one's really trying to talk to you. No one wants to take photos with you for their Instagram, and you're just kind of ignored and a background character. That was kind of like my experience back then. Like, people didn't see me as someone worthy of being acknowledged. And to be clear, I do not agree with this kind of behavior, but I like to live in reality. And the reality is that people are very, very shallow, especially in today's world. And this is why I think the best thing that you can do for yourself as a woman is to stay on top of your physical appearance and your physical health, and to make sure that you're looking the best that you can look through whatever means you can afford to or have access to. So living the way I did back then, it was not fun, and it affected my overall experience and satisfaction of my life. It was not enjoyable because I wasn't living with a mindset that would make it easier for me to enjoy my life. So when you're a thin, pretty girl, you're more likely than not secure in your looks. And I know from my own experience that comes with a confidence that just simply cannot be faked. So the common saying, just fake it till you make it? Yeah, that phrase never sat right with me, because you can only fake it for so long before you start to get mentally exhausted and revert back to your default setting. And I don't know if you've ever been around people who live by the fake it till you make it mantra, but the people who do take that on, they're usually girls who aren't seen as attractive or have more weight on them than they're comfortable admitting. And sometimes you notice like a sort of discomfort in their eyes that signals that they aren't as confident as they seem, and that they're very clearly uncomfortable in their own skin. And I can recognize that energy from a mile away because I used to be in that energy. And side note, this is completely off topic, but I just wanted to say, this is why I really wanted to start this channel and share my experiences, because I wasn't always the way that I am now. So I think that I have both perspectives, and it actually makes me more strategic with the ways I go about using my pretty privilege now that I do have it. So anyways, back to the topic. In my opinion, pretty girls are usually comfortable with themselves. They're comfortable in their bodies, in their clothes, with the way they look, and the way they move about the world. So if you watch one of my weight loss tips videos that I posted early in the days of the channel, I mentioned that just a few months ago, I was 10 pounds heavier because I had let myself go due to stressful life circumstances. But I just remember during that time, I didn't like the way my clothes fit on my body because nothing looked right. Since I'd bought those clothes being a certain size, and then when I'd gained the weight and was no longer that size, everything just looked bad on me. I was always super uncomfortable, super self-conscious. I didn't feel good in my body, and I didn't want to go out and be seen by people. Like, I literally even hated doing my regular errands, like going grocery shopping or just taking a walk, because I was just so self-conscious and constantly in my head about how bad I thought I looked. And granted, I definitely was not my optimal self at the time, but because I wasn't, that gave me anxiety. But now that I've lost the weight, I find any and all excuses to leave my house because personally, I think it would be a shame for only me to witness my beauty and the body I made deliberate choices every day to achieve. And I just noticed that I now walk around with a lighter energy. I believe that when you physically lose weight, you also kind of become more mentally light. So everything about you is just light and good energy, and that's magnetic. Like, I literally walk around with a bounce in my step because I feel good in my body and I like the way that I look. And I know any outfit I wear is gonna look amazing, so I have no reason to be self-conscious. And when you're not in your head all the time, that definitely shows outwardly. So people respond to the energy that you give out, and this is why I say that pretty girls just have more fun, because we just don't have the same worries as girls who might be overweight or not as attractive. Also, when you're pretty, like I mentioned, you adopt a sort of more detached attitude towards life and like petty things. So this detachment can be strategic for getting what you want from people around you, and I'll dive deeper into this in an upcoming video, so if that's a topic of interest, be sure to subscribe. But being comfortable in my body means I worry less about the things that I eat because I know I have a routine and a regimen for how I eat. So when I go out to eat, when I'm not eating my own food that I make myself, when I go out to eat with friends or out on a date to a restaurant, I'm not thinking like, oh no, like I can't touch the fries, or I can't have any of the bread, or let me just get the salad because I'm on a diet. I've already said this once in a video and I'll say it again. To be a pretty girl is to be strategic. Pretty girls have a plan and a regimen for every category of their lives. They know what they're eating every day. They know what outfit they're wearing the next day, which workouts they're doing for this week. So when you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So well, yes, it's a lot of behind the scenes work and a lot of planning. I'm not going to lie. It is a lot of planning. But when you step outside, all people see is the finished product of your planning, of your strategy. And that product is a radiant, happy girl who's comfortable in her own skin. And sidebar, again, I've never truly understood people who go on crash diets when they have a special event coming up. Like, if you have to go on a crash diet, that probably means you don't take very good care of yourself, like a vast majority of the time. And to be perfectly candid, I have done things like this as well, until I decided that enough was enough, and that if I really wanted to, go up another level in my life, I would have to make being healthy and making healthy food choices more of a lifestyle, and not just something that I do for a month or two and then fall off and then get back on for another month or two and then get back to it. When you don't stay ready, that is also a huge breeding ground for stress to thrive. And we all know that stress and having high levels of cortisol is like the worst thing that you can do for your physical health, for your mental health, especially as a woman. We do not react well to stress and cortisol. For an example, it's like when you're in school and let's say you have a huge test coming up, but you never really pay attention in class. You never really do the homework, you never go to office hours, but then the week of the test, you decide to pull 3 all-nighters because you have to cram it all in. That's the kind of lifestyle that I do not recommend if you truly want to be a pretty girl. Pretty girls plan things in advance. We know what we're doing and when, with who, we know where we're going. So when you're confident in your appearance, you don't obsess over every little detail about yourself. You don't spend hours fretting about your outfit, your hair, or makeup, because you know you look good. And this confidence allows you to focus on the more important aspects of your life, like enjoying your experiences and building meaningful and strategic connections with people that you meet. And also, one more point, when you're a pretty girl and you're having fun and you're just confident in yourself and you like yourself, like when you go out to restaurants or bars and clubs, you're also not worried about having bad experiences or being treated poorly by the staff or people there. Like, I've had people tell me, like if I tell them like, oh yeah, like next weekend I'm going to such and such place, they'll be like, oh yeah, like I went there and like the door's super hard, like it's so hard to get in, yada yada yada. But I end up going and I end up having no issues getting in and everything's fine and I get treated well. So like just having those different experiences from the norm and receiving top tier and even upgraded treatment is definitely a result of you carrying yourself like you know you belong in certain spaces. So I've just noticed that when I feel good about myself and good in my body and the way I look, the world tends to reflect that back to me in spades, and that just even further fuels my own self-validation. So I hope you got something out of this video. I'll talk to you next time, Ethereal Beauties.